committee meeting. And I'm just looking at our panelist list. It doesn't got a couple people on, but I think we'll need to wait for a minute or two, see if we get, there we go, enough folks for quorum. Thank you.
I can't promote Jay, so can somebody else go in and
Yeah, I got them.
thank you.
All right, are we ready for the roll call then?
Yeah, let's go for it. Thanks, Justin.
All righty. Ben O'Murrow.
Here.
Thank you. Todd Byerther. Not seeing up. There he is right there. Todd Byerther. I'll come back. Chell Anderson.
I'm here. Good to see you all.
Thank you. Tom Young.
Here.
Scott Bastiani.
Here.
Thank you. Katie Sheehan. Not seeing them online today. They are doing some traveling and maybe spotty, and they might jump in here in a little bit. Tom Handy. I'm not seeing Tom online. All right, so going back to Todd Byerther.
Here.
All right, and with that, we do have a quorum.
Okay, great. Thanks and welcome everyone. Friday the 13th. Let's see, let's go ahead and is there anyone in the attendees that would like to introduce themselves? Please raise your hand. Patrick, good.
Yes, thank you. This is Patrick Hanks with the Building Industry Association of Washington.
Thanks, Patrick. Jed, go ahead. I think you can unmute now, sorry.
Hi, I'm Jed Sherman with IAPMO.
Thanks, Jed. All right. Anyone else in the attendees? All right. Hearing none. Okay, let's go back and move to item 2, which is to review and approve the agenda. Agenda is on screen. Anyone would like to make a motion?
Motion to approve the agenda as written.
Right. Thanks, Jill. Is there a second?
Second, this is Tom Young.
Thanks, Tom. All right, motion is second. Any comments regarding the agenda? Any comments from the public regarding the agenda? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. And let's move on to item 3, which is to review meeting minutes from January 16th. All right, any comments from committee members or the public regarding the minutes, or is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve. This is Scott.
Second.
Thanks, Scott. All right, thanks, Chell. Motion from Scott, second from Chell. Any additional comments? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, hearing none, motion carries. All right, so let's move on to item 4, which is an opinion request for Residential Energy Code. And this is opinion request 26 Feb 01.
And Krista, if you don't mind, I'd like to hand this one over to you. I'm happy to share the screen and do any editing that's needed. But if you could run through this one for us.
Sure, I'm willing to share my screen as well if you'd prefer that.
It works for me.
Okay, I'm not a co-chair or a co-host on this one, apparently. So
I'll get that changed for you.
no worries. I've got screen sharing going. Okay, so apparently today is the day of revisiting 2024. This is an opinion request we got from the city of Redmond on a previous opinion issued by the council regarding whether or not if you expose a wall cavity when you're replacing siding, if you have to meet the full requirements of table R402.1.3 or whether or not the provisions of section R503.1.1 of the existing buildings portion of the code would be applicable. And so this is, they ask, the siding alteration doesn't necessarily alter the cavity, but does alter the envelope assembly components beyond the cavity. As such, wouldn't section 503.1.1 exception 2 not be applicable to a siding replacement alteration, and therefore the assembly must comply with R402.1.3 or 402.1.5 requiring continuous insulation or a UA alternative? And my proposed answer is no, the provisions of R503.1.1 would still be applicable. If you look at R503.1.1, it's pretty clear that if you're altering that you don't need to comply with the requirements for new construction, or it would apply if you're, I'm sorry, my tongue is all tied up today, that exception 2 would still apply. It's pretty straightforward, saying that you're exempt from meeting the base code requirements as long as you fill the cavity with a minimum of R15 or R21, depending on the well construction. And this is the text of the original opinion request.
Thanks, Krista. And yeah, I guess any initial thoughts from anyone on the committee or members of the public regarding, I guess, the current question that's on the table here? Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. So I'm a home builder, and so I ran that opinion, and this really it really applies more to like remodelers, but so I ran this opinion amongst my people, and they agree with the opinion.
Thanks, Tom. And I guess, Krista, do you think it would make sense to clarify in the answer that the provisions of, I guess, really specifically exception 2 would still be applicable in this instance?
We can certainly add that.
I mean, I think like the answer is consistent with what we had provided previously in the 2024 edition. Was that the same requester in
No,
our
it was a
jurisdiction?
different requester at the time.
Okay. Interesting.
I think it was West Richland last time.
All right. Any other thoughts from committee members or other folks on the call? And And I'm assuming we do not have anyone representing the jurisdiction on the call today. Okay. Yeah, I guess for committee members, are we feeling like we feel this answer is acceptable and would like to make a motion to kind of approve the opinion answer? Tom, go ahead.
I move to approve the opinion as currently presented.
I'll
Thanks, Tom.
second Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, motion is second to approve the opinion to be posted. Any additional discussion?
Um, I forgot to raise my hand. I just started
No worries.
talking. I guess my understanding is, I think the answer is correct. If it's a siding only alteration, I think if you're doing a more thorough renovation, there might be instances in which you do need to bring it up to compliance with the new code, but I guess my understanding is the question is asking about a siding only alteration and not a more major alteration that would require it to be brought up to prescriptive or UA requirements. And I guess I'm trying to make sure that that's captured in here, that it's not just a blanket thing saying that if you're replacing your siding, you don't need external insulation. I don't know that it's defective as it is. I'm kind of bringing up that question. Is it clear that this isn't giving a pass to anything that is replacing siding?
Thanks, Joel. Todd, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Chell, I often think of this, and I'll test this against other people's thoughts. When you get a siding, window, and kind of roofing permit, right? And the line is always like for like. If you start to make changes, that would trigger the energy code. And I've done this recently where, I needed to compare a wall against an energy permit. Then that triggered external installation and so forth. So if it's just like for like, that's the threshold that I understand, and this would be like for like. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd. Okay. All right. I don't see any other hands at the moment. A motion on the table is to approve it as written. Any additional thoughts here? Are we ready to take a vote? Okay. All right. All those in favor of approving the answer shown to this opinion request, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Hearing none, motion carries. So just with that, Dustin, this will get published on the website.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Thank you. All right. Okay, let's go back to the agenda.
Let me share my screen.
All right. And okay, so the next item 5, is to review the preliminary cost benefit analysis for the 2024 UPC. And Dustin, can you clarify for this kind of what the committee action would be? Are we reviewing it and providing recommendations to the council regarding it?
There's no committee action required on this one. If you wanted to recommend its contents to the council, that would be within, order of this group. but really we're using this as an avenue to showcase the new format of the economic impact statements. And we were able to show the UPC one at our last committee meeting, and we heard some feedback, and we've made some changes in response to that feedback. And then at our last committee meeting, the IMC one was not available. But we have that one available for today with the additional updates of what was heard at the last meeting brought into that document as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks for that recap. So yeah, like you said at the previous meeting, we had gone through the UPC version. There's some feedback regarding it, and I don't know if you or Brandon wants to do like a quick review of those items, and then maybe we can do a quick pass through if there's any additional comments regarding the contents.
Gotcha. So my plan is to hand it over to Brandon after I do a quick intro. So looking back to the last meeting where we discussed this one that's on the screen here, a table of contents was asked for on there and an addition of page numbers. So you'll see that here at the very top here. We've got our table of contents and all the page numbers identifying where the things are. So you can just jump to that section easily. We added also in a description of how small businesses are engaged in the SBCC process. And we also added in a statement on a number of jobs created based on input we received. And we had some comments about mitigations of rising costs. And we've got some additional comments in there. But at that point, I will turn it over to Brandon to kind of run through this one. And Brandon, would it help if you were sharing screen as you drove through this, or would you want me to maintain here and I can scroll for you?
Mind sharing the screen just so I can help move along when people ask questions or if there's
Gotcha.
any need.
So it should be on your power now.
Perfect. All right. So Dustin kind of stole everything I was going to say. So, I mean, this is something new we're attempting, and we listened to the feedback from both the committee as well as I believe it was Patrick that had some concerns, and we added that information in so that way you could easily find it. We have our global small business engagement statement where we talk about how we engage with small business, as well as our job impact, as Dustin stated. We have our key findings, net economic impact, small business burden. We lay out a table showing which different NICS codes would be affected. And then we give our overall cumulative economic analysis with the overall economic benefit, small business impact summary, and then we get down into the actual proposals identified. And then we formatted it where you could easily see which proposal you're looking at, kind of get a general sense of where it's located in the code book, and then it goes through different criteria such as the description, the rationale, the original, what the change is, and the summary. At that point, I'm going to stop in case somebody has some questions, or I can keep going.
Maybe I'll add just one clarifying thing. So we talked about the global small business engagement and the global jobs created statement in there. As we were engaging with the small businesses, we don't have great data on jobs created or lost on this one. During, our listening sessions that we ran through, all the tag meetings and stuff like that, we did not get any information from the public indicating job creation or loss. And so we have a global statement. If we had any proposals where we had identified specific job creation or loss, we would have included it in the global statement and also in the individual proposals section later on in this report. And I just wanted to give a clarifying on that one in case somebody's looking for it further in each proposal section. We don't have that information to identify for a proposal. And so it's the job creation loss statements there. If we have that information on other code change proposals moving forward, that will be included as well. I see a hand up from Patrick.
Patrick, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I greatly appreciate the new format. I think it looks much improved over the previous version. However, the word global kind of threw me off, and I immediately thought of a worldwide scale, but then I realized you're probably just talking about sort of an overall statement. So I thought I would suggest that maybe a small change you could make to make that a little bit clearer.
I see no reason why we couldn't change the verbiage to make it more clear that it's a statement about the report, not the globe.
And yeah, thanks, Patrick. So yeah, I guess if you kind of go back to the summary area, or I guess maybe it's down. Um, so here you've kind of see the summary of how many proposals were deemed to have no impact, how many were deemed to have a minimal increase in cost, and how many would have potential cost savings, as well as the kind of other summary of the economic benefit and small business impacts. Um, so I guess would it make sense to go through these one by one again, or look at where there's cost increases identified, um, where or other potential items to review, I guess. But any thoughts on kind of most efficient way to go through these? And Scott, go ahead.
Just to, I guess, understand, so this is developed at, Dustin, your team develops this, or is this developed at a tag level?
So the staff is developing the new format that you're seeing here. Content of this is developed at the tag level and also via the listening sessions and other public engagement that we've done through this code cycle.
Okay, thanks.
And Brandon, if I may, if we were going to go down on a proposal by proposal, look at this one. Before we get to that, I would maybe showcase the last bit of this report, which is the little appendix at the end. And that was the one more thing that was missing from this one at the last viewing. And so the appendix here is to kind of really spell out the contents of this report and its format and how each section complies with the statutes that we need to comply with. So we've got some reference to 3405, 328, which is the Administrative Procedures Act. And then I believe there should be some stuff in here about the Regulatory Fairness Act as well. And if there's not, we can update that. And just a side note, as we run through 3405.328, it does reference within that statute the Regulatory Fairness Act. But because it's its own act, I would hope to bring full kind of disclosures to the components of the report and how it interacts with that statute.
And Dustin, it looks like you've kind of compiled like the proposed UPC changes, I guess, for this document into the kind of analysis against the RCWs.
Yes.
So this kind of gives like a summary narrative of for each of these RCWs on the kind of bulk code change proposals of kind of how they fit into these different categories.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so yeah, like you said, this might be a good way of looking at it, or if there are specific proposals that we want to look at, we could definitely do that. But like you said, I think it would be probably efficient for us to look at it and pick out any potential items that we want to review in more detail, and um, and then maybe potentially make a recommendation to the council on um, acceptance of the analysis.
So as we run through then, Brandon, I guess, could we run to the top and look at the ones that are identified to have some economic impact and maybe point to those ones first and then, kind of go through those proposals and then identify any others that anybody would um, like to discuss in this report?
While we're looking, Scott, go ahead.
I just said one general comment, coming from the, building side of things. I look at the analysis. It's like I noticed that, the life cycle impact costs are like significant, but the added costs like design costs and construction impact costs are almost negligible. And rarely is that real, right? Like if that was a real thing, that it didn't cost much to get that much benefit, people would do it day in and day out, right? Because the life cycle payback costs would way outweigh the initial costs and the redesign or design and construction costs. So to me, that sort of presentation of that doesn't seem real. It seems um, like it's trying to lead in a different in a direction. Um, that would be my comment. And I know that this has been vetted and discussed and at a tag level, I'm sure those comments have been discussed.
Thanks, Scott. And yeah, it can be hard to gauge like the relative cost between some of these, like if it's specifying one type of device versus another, maybe it's not a huge burden. However, there could be ancillary requirements associated with that as well. So getting the holistic picture is can be pretty complex for some of these, I would say. But yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I think, and I don't know, Brandon or Dustin, if you want to explain more about the methodology you guys have used to analyze some of these proposals and substantiate what was provided in the proposal documentation.
So I'll run this one, Brandon. As we have run through the process, we, so I've been managing director since 2024, and throughout the process, it is apparent that the information that staff is using to generate this report right here is not necessarily the best information available out there. We are heavily reliant on the proponents submitting code change proposals to also submit accurate economic data. And there's not a great vetting process for us to utilize to evaluate those code change proposals and their economic impact. So as we bring in the code change proposals and we then cycle them through the technical advisory groups, there's two issues at hand. One, the information that is the baseline information that we're bringing in from the code change proposal is static as it comes through there, and there's not real third-party evaluation on the contents of the economics there. And so as we run through and make modifications to those proposals, the economics are not further updated. It's not part of the technical advisory groups necessarily tasked to do that. And so that's when we start trying to engage the other small businesses and other interested parties. And we have traditionally in the past not gotten a lot of feedback from that avenue. And similar this time, and I will acknowledge that there wasn't a lot of time to get the feedback at the time we were seeking it. But we are trying to improve the process and acknowledging that, when a code change proposal changes, everything about that code change proposal changes, including the economics. To give clear direction to the staff here, I directed them to use the information we have on the code change proposals and to supplement with some resources and things that you see here in this report. And I want to applaud Brandon's work on this one because, he was not necessarily starting from square zero, but he wasn't, coming through with an existing process to develop this. We came through, we identified the form and the contents that we wanted and have put that out there for what we have going on here. And so, into the future, we need to get better economic data. And as someone who hears the criticisms coming towards us on our process, I feel that we would need to engage another third party to do the evaluation for us because staff on hand right now, we mostly come from building enforcement backgrounds, and we're not well tuned in to the construction costs and all that, and we're not provisioned to actually do the research and get the defensible answer we're looking for here. So with the information we have, doing the best that we can, we're producing this report, and I do feel that it is a major step better than the reports for the 2021 cycle. But I fully acknowledge that there's room for much improvement on these as well. And that the improvement I see as being a better engagement with the folks who are tasked with complying with this code, not just the enforcement side, but the people who are out there building buildings, so that we can get better, more tangible economic data to bring into this one. And, I'm looking to get input on what that process looks like. I've got good input from Patrick Hanks. He's been instrumental in some of the changes that you're seeing here today. And, I want to bring this across the finish line with the information we have. We don't have the resources to hire a third-party consultant to do that like we do for the energy code. But I do see that as a benefit for us moving forward if we can get that provisioned for the SBCC. But right now we're working with little resources to do a big lift of evaluation on this to make our rulemaking more defensible. And with that, I'll pause for Tom.
Thanks, Dustin. Yeah, definitely appreciate all the work staff has put into developing this analysis and trying to bridge the gap between the RCW requirements and actually implementing it. So, Tom, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, I did kind of roll through, all the different proposals, and I would say, kind of in general, they're largely more for clarification purposes, and so, a lot of those just really don't have any cost impact. They're just for clarification purposes. But, so, maybe just kind of help me and maybe some of our audience and some of our newer members that what's the purpose of this economic analysis, how it fits into everything that the Biblical Council has been tasked to do.
Yeah, I'll respond to that. So, not only because we're required to do it because of the Administrative Procedures Act and the Regulatory Fairness Act, having this good information to not only it's going to help the council justify the code changes. So as we evaluate potential changes, the clarifying language changes are, like you said, typically don't bring cost impact to the end users. But the ones that do, we are tasked with making sure we're choosing the least burdensome version of the, if we can't escape a new requirement because of federal, state, other regulation that requires us to do it, and there are options to reduce cost, and we, want to say, hey, we're adopting this proposal or this code change proposal, and this is the benefit we're bringing, but we also have to acknowledge that there might be some cost there. And if the benefit, outweighs the cost, then we're feeling pretty backed up about making that change. But if we can show that the cost expenditure outweighs the benefit that we're getting, then the council should be considering alternatives to that. And so we have been looking towards alternate code language, and that's kind of evaluated through the code change process. But I diverge from the actual question, which is why we're doing this is to better justify the changes that we make within our rulemaking. In having good information here leads us to be able to defend our decisions as a council and to say, we're looking at all the facets of the gem of code making, and that we are addressing the concerns of rising construction costs and continuing to improve life, health, safety provisions within the code. And so that we're not unduly bringing hardship to those who are trying to do the end use, and then also, achieving some of the goals that are high priority within the state, which primarily right now is new affordable housing.
All right, thanks much, Dustin. Scott, go ahead.
Just want to say, Dustin, thank you for that, and I'll try to be part of the solution and help rather than hindrance. So I appreciate the effort, and the format is really good. It's really clear and easy to understand. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Scott, and stay tuned as we plan for the 2027 code cycle. We'll be addressing this aspect of our rulemaking in earnest. This is in my opinion, the part that needs the most work for us to make this code cycle move smoothly.
Patrick, and then Joe.
Yes. Thank you. Overall, I think I said this last time, but I'll repeat it again. In my opinion, this is light years better than what I've seen in past CBAs, and I do understand that you guys have a much larger amount of rulemaking than many other agencies, so this is a huge lift, and I appreciate the time and effort and care that's gone into making improvements. I have a couple of feedback. I'll preface that by saying I'm not commenting on the substance of the estimates, but I do appreciate the transparency with the sources and the methodology. So if people disagree with whatever number you come up with, they can dig into that and compare their own calculations and assumptions to see where things differ. I think that's very helpful. One is just a friendly note. I saw there's some inconsistent punctuation on some bullet points. I know that when this is all said and done, it's going to be a rather permanent government document, and I've written things before and missed some punctuation things, so I always appreciate it when people point that out to me. And then now I went through the Small Business or the Regulatory Fairness Act and just kind of checklist, tried to see if you have everything. And there's two things where I don't really see in this. And one is an estimate of or like a sales or revenue statement similar to the job statement. So you might add, and I think it will probably sound very similar, but if you add a paragraph next to the job statement for impacted or an estimation of sales and revenue, or if you weren't able to create an estimate, an explanation of that. And then the Regulatory Fairness Act is very clear that you have to, if you have the estimation, a comparison of the cost of compliance, and that's by one of three metrics: cost per employee, cost per hour of labor, or cost per $100 of sales. It seemed like you were trying to include training or design costs, but those were more of general estimations and didn't always have a number figure. So if you come up with some sort of number estimation just to fulfill that requirement, if you do those two things, in my opinion, it looks like you have everything that the law requires, which is a massive improvement over past statements. And then this isn't necessary, but I think this would be like a cherry on the top, take it to the next level. If you found some way to do like some color coding for the proposals based off its net impact. So like green is net savings, orange is net increase or something. So then if people are going through it, it's a little bit more visually easier to find ones that have a total cost savings or total cost increase. It's not necessary, but if you can do it for this one, great. If not, maybe consider it for future ones. So thank you.
Thanks, Patrick. Michelle, go ahead.
Thanks, Ben. I appreciate all the work. It looks very thorough. Looks like a lot of work. And it's providing good data to the public and the council. In the spirit of government efficiency, though, I'm kind of wondering if there are better ways to get the analysis done and also get the analysis presented for people reviewing it. The council received hundreds of proposals or accepted hundreds of proposals in total, and a lot of paper and a lot of writing and a lot of opportunities for punctuation errors and plenty of other things. And many of the proposals that I'm thinking of have interactive impacts, so they couldn't easily be limited. The impacts of a proposal would also have an interactive effect with other proposals. And it seems like I look forward to discussing how we treat 2027. I see this as kind of there's got to be a better way to do this from an efficiency standpoint and from a data and analysis standpoint. And it's not a critique of you, it's a critique of how we want to use staff time at the council, and what data is essential to present. I was thinking of when we did a cost benefit for 2021, on the energy code specifically, I think PNNL chose the top 8 or 10 proposals in terms of the estimated cost impact and looked at those. I feel like it just seems like this is a lot of information, both for staff to do and for the public to look at. And there's got to be a better, more efficient way to do that. And I haven't spent the time to figure out how to do that. But I very much look forward to what we talk about for 2027 and have empathy for staff spending the crazy amount of time it takes to put all this together. So thank you.
So I'll just comment that one thing, PNNL did do some work for us in the 2021 code cycle. They are a third party. We have budgeted money to engage with that third party. And we currently have a contract out being worked on for the energy codes. And right now, Krista's kind of on the hook for writing a preliminary cost benefit analysis for the energy codes based on proposal data. But as we go through the rest of our rulemaking process, we will have the benefit of the contracted outputs to review. And, I see the contracted outputs as being a major benefit for staff time exposure, but also to say, this isn't the council developing this. This isn't the staff developing this. This is a third party who, is not involved in the energy code writing process, doing this analysis for us. And so, as I look to the future, it is my hope to be able to bring a third party analysis to all the codes. But right now, the provisions that we have within the SBCC do not allow for that for all the codes. And, as we move forward, I see that as a good way to reduce staff time in producing these reports and also to reduce risk in what is contained in the reports.
All right. Thanks, Dustin. Yeah, thanks, Joe, for the comments. Tom, good.
Yeah, so I guess I'm kind of waiting to hear like from Dustin, is it something that's like manageable, within your means, or is it like overburdensome to do the report in this manner?
It's extremely overburdensome. I would say that these reports and the planning to get them to where they are now are the main contributor to our most recent delays, is trying to put together a lengthy report like this that, if we could write this on as from the perspective of the whole code and what that means, uh, that would be nice. But then, just like Chell was saying, some of these proposals have the interplay with everything else. And just due to our expertise and the information we get at the beginning, um, it's hard to take a holistic view and write this as, a economic impact report for the UPC. The simpler task, even though it's got a lot more contents, is to take it proposal by proposal. And so, into the future. I've mentioned it a couple times. I think that there is a process shift that's needed for SBCC. Uh, I think that technical code development or technical code language development is spaced out over our entire, well, not entire 2 years, but it takes up a good portion of the 2 years of our 3-year code cycle, where we need to bring the final adoption across the finish line. The third year is for publication and for setting up for the next code cycle. So we're really trying to do all of our code work within 2 years and get it across the finish line. Not to point at, the delays that we had in the beginning of this process, but staff didn't get started in earnest on the code updates for 2024 until about March or May of 2024. And so we started off with a 4-year or 4-month delay already in the process. And we've struggled to try to make it up. And if anything, it's only gotten worse since then. Look into what's manageable. I've ideated that a bringing technical development into the first year and leaving the second year for economic analysis and actual rulemaking activity would be most beneficial. But as I say that, to do all the technical code development alongside of every other code will be difficult with the staffing levels we have currently. So, as we plan for 2027, I'm not sure what the doable for staff threshold will be, but there has to be more time built into our process for economic analysis and drafting of final results before we do final adoption. But I don't know what that looks like at the moment. And if we change up group 1, group 2, it requires some additional rulemaking in our WAC 5104. Would need to require some bylaws changes as well. So, more rulemaking to do more rulemaking doesn't sound appetizing to me, but hard steps are going to need to be taken to make sure that this flows smoothly for the 2027 code cycle.
Thanks, Dustin. Yeah, it definitely seems like there's both the need to increase the stringency on proposal and proponent information delivered, as that seems like as a proposal by proposal basis, that seems like a huge effort that you're undertaking. And then, yeah, similar to what Chell said, maybe there is a way to do a more consolidated analysis on these, and hopefully there's the way to potentially separate out those proposals that are editorial in nature as well, to not need to include those potentially. But yeah, like you said, I think this is a big item for 2027 development, and then yeah, however we can manage it for this code cycle. Patrick, go ahead.
Yes. Now that you've kind of done this and have an idea of here's how we want to have it look like, here's the process for doing it, do you think that will help produce some time savings in future cycles?
100%.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is good. And yeah, again, this is like the first iteration of this for all the 2024 codes. So we're we're learning a lot as we're going through these. Um, with that said, I guess would it be most effective just to go to the appendix and kind of run through the kind of findings of this analysis? I think it's identified in here. Maybe not. I think one thing that do we need to identify the individual proposals in this in kind of the appendix summary? Do you think, Dustin, on which ones are triggering which statements potentially?
I mean, that wasn't the thought in putting that together, but if it is considered a benefit, it's something we can definitely consider. My hope today, though, is to not have substantive updates required before we post this for the council meeting next week.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, I guess in the first section, this is just kind of outlining what's in um, general goals for 19.27. And then to go down to the um, next section, here you're identifying a couple where they fit into some of these different categories, it looks like.
Correct.
For clarity, consistency, public health protection, which is a lot of these, which is, yeah, and other regulatory coordination. And Patrick, good.
Yeah, I'm wondering, trying to extrapolate here. So it seems like I'm looking at the alternatives and the potential impact to small business. Are you saying that the combination of amendments produces $750 to $45 of time savings per storm drainage design?
That's what the information that we gathered for that specific proposal. And so that's why that was put in there.
Okay. Because I think if you had some number like that for an overall time savings in design, including training, and then if you turn it into a per hour of labor figure, that meets that requirement from the Regulatory Fairness Act. Just trying to be helpful. Hopefully. Thank you.
All right. I did notice on the section for 3405 328, 1B here, it's referencing ASHRAE 62.2. I'm wondering if that is one that should be in the IMC.
That might be. So it might be, I would have to verify. Originally, this template was taken off the IMC and added or copied off the IMC and brought over. So it may have been something that just got missed in the bringing it over portion.
Okay. Yeah. Tom, go ahead.
So what action are we seeking from the committee on this today?
So per what Dustin had mentioned before, it sounds like this will like we're providing some review and commentary on it as we're going through it right now. However, there's no process requirement for the committee to approve it prior to the council seeing it. Is my understanding the council will be reviewing this document with potentially some of the updates that are produced from the discussion today.
That's accurate.
Thanks. Tom, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So I know it comes up later in the agenda again, but it might be useful in this context to kind of pull up who are the tag members that help kind of process these proposals to kind of give some of the audience, some background and comfort on how these recommendations were made and from what sources.
Yeah, and I think the items later in the agenda are to look at proposals for tag applications to join one or more of the tags. And so, and that's right now we're not doing like the full recruitment. So it's like as people are applying, we're reviewing some of those. But I think we'll look at the full list of people that are currently on the tag.
So are we looking to identify the individuals or just the seats that these individuals occupy?
No, I was just kind of like, so some of us who are like newer or maybe they weren't so engrossed in how, these proposals came through the tag, but you kind of show the members of the tag and that kind of gives us an idea of the background so that we kind of know that, that these proposals processed through certain individuals with certain expertise and background and that might just, help us have some better assurance of these proposals.
Gotcha. So looking at the MVP tag, so this tag is tasked with doing mechanical, ventilation, and plumbing. We have the chair and chair alternate. We have representatives for building officials. We have representatives for fire officials / fire marshals. We have representatives of cities and counties.
And
Yeah.
Dustin, sorry to butt in. Do
course.
you think it would be appropriate just to look at it when we review the application? I think you included like the current tag roster.
Oh yeah, that
There.
works as well.
And Tom, is that all right if we kind of go through kind of the tag composition with that agenda item?
That's fine. That's fine. And the
Okay.
only reason why I kind of bring this up is, the Building Code Council were much more structured and organized. And I work on the development side, and there's a lot of groups that are pulled together, and sometimes like planning commissions that are put together by cities, and many of them are filled with people without a lot of background or experience, just free time. And so kind of showing that, these proposals did come through people who are knowledgeable and experienced in the subject matter. So
Just to try to answer it a little bit more, on each one of the proposals in this document, it does give the author and kind of where they work. So that way that information can be looked up if you have further questions.
So yeah, it's fine. I'm just thought that if someone was just curious about, who are the people that actually came up with these proposals? Were they biased, or do they have an agenda, or are they basically technical and experienced, people? So that's
Well,
my only
I would further clarify Brandon's statement that yeah, the proponents are listed on the proposals, but anybody in the state of Washington can submit a code change proposal. I think the answer you're looking for, though, Tom, is that the technical advisory group is composed of technical, experts in their fields. The composition of the tags is voted on at the beginning of the code cycles by the council to identify the seats that are desired for that technical input. And so while anybody can submit a proposal, they are approved by that technical advisory group as appointed by the council.
Yeah, thanks, Dustin and Brandon. Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, and I just would add that just under state law, no proposal could go forward without the majority of the tag approving it. And anything that would be in this cost benefit analysis would be something that already had that level of approval.
Yeah, and thanks, Jay. And obviously, like this does include the input from the staff side as well as along with the proponent information. Um, all right. Okay. Any additional comments or items to review for the UPC CBA draft that we have here? And I guess, are we comfortable moving to the next item? Or do we want to look at anything else with this? The IMC, I believe, has a similar structure for it. So, um, but it definitely has some different proposal contents potentially. And yeah, I guess on here again, it looks like in this statement here, it's referencing IMC. Um,
And I
We
can
need
work
to
and get that
clear that up.
prepared.
okay. All right. Okay. So if no other comments, I'm gonna say let's move on to the next agenda item. Should be a similar review for the draft mechanical code cost benefit analysis. So Brandon, Dustin, I'm assuming you've used the same format here.
Correct.
Looks like, and just kind of go into there's a couple more proposals in here. And looks like there's currently um, 4 proposals that have been identified as having a minimal or neutral increase. 16 with zero impact, 7 with assumed cost savings. And then it didn't look like there was any negative impact identified for small business on any of these. And overall, here for the overall economic benefits, is that kind of the assumed, if you go back up to the top, sorry, or towards the top. Um,
Just below that table.
yeah, there you go. This is taking all of the proposals as a combined effect, I assume.
Yes, this is reviewing, trying to give a holistic view so that way if somebody just wants a quick glance before they identify the specific one they're looking for.
All right, and then yeah, I guess since we haven't reviewed this one as a committee yet, we go through this quickly, but maybe if you can identify the 4 that were identified as having a minimal or neutral cost impact.
This is one of the cost saving ones.
Okay.
which was submitted by you.
Yeah, and okay, so this is one of the savings. And this one, yeah, this one would, yeah, basically to summarize the proposal here would be to allow for ERVs to bring in return air from some of these spaces where when they would not be recirculated. So um, basically reducing the need to provide additional systems or um, allowing those ERVs to provide exhaust ventilation for some spaces.
So this is one that costs roughly for designing it.
Okay, so this is one for chapter 2, ASHRAE 15 alignment, and this affects some of the refrigerant requirements in section 11.
Estimated cost saving or cost would be for the engineers reviewing and understanding the code change. And that was estimated at $150 an hour for engineering.
Gotcha. So that is a identified cost, like on the um, for design or review cost. I guess it looks like it's identified for design side cost.
Yes.
All right. We go through any comments from anyone. Maybe we're ready. Maybe look at the summary appendix.
I will say I do really like Patrick's idea of highlighting so that somebody could easily figure out which ones are the cost saving, cost neutral, or that will cost. I've been refocused on different tasks, so I don't have them as readily available in my head of which ones are which.
A thought on that one. We do try to stay away from colorizing stuff. I know I showed a legislative committee meeting yesterday, a rainbow document, but ideally we would stay away from colors on these documents. And my thought on adding that component would be to add a column to the table of contents to signify or to put in there the cost neutral, cost positive, cost negative. I see a new hand up in the attendees. Maybe not a new hand, but new to this meeting.
Yeah. Micah, go ahead.
Thanks. And I'll kind of pair it Dustin on that. I wouldn't recommend doing color coding. One of the things is that does not meet the accessibility requirements for government posted documents for visually impaired and other things. So again, color coding is not a good idea. It is actually frowned upon when posting public documents. Thanks.
Thanks, Micah. And yeah, I guess my thought would be we have the proposal table that we have associated with the code cycle development. It seems like we could either incorporate that or somehow use that same kind of framework to add some columns in or something like that to identify which proposals fit into which bucket. Patrick, but
Yes. For the most part, I'll just say ditto my comments on the last one, sans the color coding. You could do a column in the matrix for the proposals, or I was thinking you could also just add a line item at the top of each proposal saying, net impact and have benefit cost increase. That way it's pretty easy to just search through and find what you're looking for.
all right. Yeah, thanks, Patrick. And yeah, I think Dustin and team will definitely take a look at kind of a good approach for these, especially when we get to some of the codes that have a lot of proposals, a lot more than these. All right. Yeah. Thanks for going through this. Any additional comments before we move on from looking at the IMC CBA? All right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Dustin, Brandon, for sharing this. Again, very helpful to have this analysis, and looking forward to more discussion on it and seeing the other codes with similar analysis. Is there, I guess, with that, is there a timeline for uh, the energy code analysis? Is that something we're still tracking for March or April?
That is the timeline we're still working on. We're not ready to showcase any of that one just yet. There's a lot of mileage left on it. And for the other codes, similar status on those, still a lot of mileage left to make on those.
Okay. Great, understood. And yeah, thank you for all the hard work so far and for more upcoming. Okay. All right. So with that, so I believe the idea was to cover the tag applications in item 7. So Dustin, I'll hand it over to you to look at the tag. So Tom, this is on the meeting info, but this is the current composition of the MVP tag, which is mechanical ventilation and plumbing code tag.
And so the reason this one was on the agenda for other business was that we got a new application for the MVP tag. And earlier today uncovered that I've dropped the ball, and we had another applicant appointed to the mechanical engineer alternate position at the December 5th executive committee meeting. So Siddharth Prim Kumar is the alternate in this mechanical engineer. And so the question raised now is there a spot that Teresa could occupy on this tag as well? I do see that I believe she is on the call. And so my apologies there for dropping the ball on updating the tag roster to include Siddharth. Um, and so just curious, Teresa, if that is you, could you raise your hand?
Okay, so you're in the attendees.
Yeah.
And
I gave her permission to unmute if she's available. And so Teresa does come with a resume that would make her an ideal fit for the mechanical engineer slot. But is there another slot that they might be available to occupy? And I guess that would be the question.
yeah, and I guess one other comment for this, Dustin, would be we know that Bill Masaki, per kind of our final UPC reviews, indicated that he would be retiring at that time. So I think that spot is vacant.
Okay. So this was primarily aimed to be informational for today. So since we had the kind of lingering question about the composition of the tags to give some assurity to folks who might not be as informed of like who is out there making approvals on the building code change proposals. Like I said, anybody can submit a proposal. But before those proposals make it into any draft code languages. The council intakes those code change proposals, moves them down to the technical advisory groups, and any proposal that is referred to a technical advisory group cannot be heard by the committees or the full council without the approval of the technical advisory group. So our chairs for these groups are typically interested parties who represent trades that would be involved in the codes represented here. So Ben, I don't have your specific seat representation, but I think you represent mechanical engineers on the council. Is that inaccurate?
Yep, that's correct.
And then at the January meeting, our chair alternate, Justin Borgo, indicated he did not have the availability for the chair alternate on this one and was not seeking reappointment. So we have a spot open for council members to help out Ben as an alternate in this one. But then we have representatives from building officials, fire officials and fire marshals, cities and counties, home builders. And to clarify, the home builder is a residential home builder. And Ted Clifton, I also believe, is no longer active within the group as well, correct?
I don't know if I received like a notice that he was stepping down or vacating his seat, but you might be correct. Yeah. Patrick, good.
Yeah, my understanding talking with Ted is that he has retired from SBCC activities. I haven't tried recruiting another home builder to this tag very heavily because I thought that most of the work was done for this cycle. So
I will agree with Patrick that most of the work is done. But I do see, just like with the WUI code tag, we have populated that tag with folks. There is the chance that opinion requests and things like that that might be well suited for the technical advisory group could crop up. So if we did have as many people in the seats as possible, the workload is going to be low for the remainder of this code cycle. But having folks available to have a good, well-rounded conversation would be a benefit. We also have manufacturers, suppliers represented, mechanical engineers, mechanical contractors, plumbing trades, residential HVAC installers, and maybe not just installers, but people who represent the residential HVAC trade, general public, subject matter experts, IAQ specialist. For right now, the acronym is escaping me. Can anybody help me with that?
Indoor air quality.
All right, thank you. An educator, that would be someone who is out there educating the public on code provisions, not just a general teacher from a school. A plumbing official, and then from the state agencies. So we have quite a few vacancies on this group currently. But the intent is to get a well-rounded group of individuals that represent the work of the body of that code and bring them together to discuss the merits of code change proposals received. The technical advisory groups review existing amendments and significant changes in the next version of the code. And they also make recommendations for code change proposals, but those are brought in and grouped together with the rest of the proposals that come from the public. And so, yeah, that's a quick overview of what the composition of the technical advisory group for the MVP looks like. A lot of the positions on other technical advisory groups contain some of the similar components, but there are some specialty folks like the plumbing trades not included on all the technical advisory groups. Residential HVAC isn't included. We do have trades represented, but that could be any number of trades represented there. So, any questions on tag composition or kind of how the process works with them? Not seeing any hands coming up. So,
And that's, I guess, yeah, this is for the MVP tag, and of course all the other tags have maybe slightly different compositions, of course, based on kind of what their focus is. And the composition itself is something that the council reviews and discusses prior to kind of going through the tag applications and recruiting.
correct. And so, with that, I'm gonna update this one to reflect the changes made at the December 5th Executive Committee meeting, and where Sid Harth was appointed to the position here. And then I still see Teresa online. Teresa, are you available and interested in any of these other positions by chance?
If you should be able to unmute if you're listening. And if not, I can follow up with her. She had contacted me before submitting an application
Okay.
to see if, yeah, maybe like I know she's involved in some commissioning and other types of work, so potentially like the contractor position might be a good fit.
And we weren't looking for action on this today. This was more informative. All right.
All right. Yeah, thanks, Justin, for going through that, and appreciate it. And yeah, sorry for yeah, kind of clarifications on, yeah. I remember we had done something at the previous December meeting.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you remembering it, because then Sid Harth might not have been officially included in the rosters, and so we'll make sure we get all our stuff updated across our system, not globally.
All right. So any other business items from folks?
None from me.
All right. If not, I think we can move to item 8, which is to adjourn. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful Friday the 13th and an even better Valentine's Day tomorrow.
Yes, I appreciate everybody's time and input.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.